After 25 years in the army, I didn't expect balloons or a parade when I came home. But I also didn't expect complete radio silence. My mother had passed 2 days before I landed. I'd gotten the call from a neighbor, not my sister, not any family, just a woman who used to bring us pies in the 92nd. I flew back to Oklahoma, landed in Tulsa, rented a car, and drove toward the town I once called home. It looked the same. Same diners, same empty baseball field behind the church, same rusted, "Welcome to Fairborn" sign. Except this time, nobody was waiting. I pulled up to our old family house around 6:30 a.m. The driveway was complete SUVs, a Lexus I didn't recognize, and my sister's new Audi with vanity plates that read Ronlaw. I hadn't seen Lily in person in over a decade, but her ego? Still visible from space. I didn't knock. I stood by the mailbox and watched people pass me on their way in. Some I recognized, some looked at me like I was a ghost. Nobody said my name. There was a wreath on the door, lilies and white roses, Mom's favorite. Inside, people moved like they were on rails. Polite hugs, careful smiles, churchy murmurs. I stayed outside. I didn't belong in there. At least not yet. I walked around to the backyard like I used to after long shifts in high school. The garden was dead. The bench where Dad used to fall asleep with the newspaper was still there, sun-bleached and crooked. For a second, I let myself believe I might see him around the corner, wiping his hands with a dish towel. But no one came. When he saw me, a cousin finally stepped out for a cigarette and did a double take. "Monica? Jesus. I didn't think you'd show. Guess I still know where I live," I said. He chuckled awkwardly and lit his smoke. "The funeral starts at 10. Lily's inside doing the, hosting thing." I nodded. "I'll be there." He crushed the cigarette and walked back in without offering a hug. At 10 sharp, the doors opened and the family started filing out. A printed memorial board stood by the entrance, with a glossy collage of photos. Mom at her wedding, with Lily, and at Lily's law school graduation. None of me. Not a single one. I scanned the whole thing twice. Nope. 25 years of military service get you cropped out of history. I leaned in closer, just to be sure. And that's when I saw it. Someone had cut me out of a childhood photo. I remembered the original. I was in that one. But now, just Lily and Mom smiling on a picnic blanket me? Gone like a rumor. A guy behind me cleared his throat. "Could you?" I stepped aside so he could take a photo of the board. I should have been in that picture. I should have been asked. I should have at least gotten a text before Mom died. But I guess, should've, doesn't mean much in this family. If your blood has ever erased you, comment below. I read every single one. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this one. Some truths only come out loud. I didn't cry. Not there. Not yet. I just walked inside and sat in the very last row. Nobody looked back. Nobody turned. The pastor cleared his throat, and Lily stepped up to speak. I stared at the back of her perfect blonde head and thought, so this is how it starts. I kept my eyes on the back of her head as she stepped up to the podium. Same poise, same posture, like someone who had never had a moment of self-doubt in her entire life. Lily Ellsworth Rohn, attorney at law, high-functioning narcissist since 1986. She adjusted the microphone like it personally offended her and looked out over the room with soft, practiced grief. "Thank you all for coming," she said, voice smooth as silk and just as synthetic. "Mom would have loved seeing all of you here." She started talking about our mother like she was narrating a television movie. Loving wife. Devoted friend. Always made sure the house smelled like cinnamon rolls. My sister had a way of stringing together memories she probably hadn't lived through. I sat in the back pew thinking, where was all this love when Mom called me crying because Lily forgot her doctor's appointment? Then came the part that twisted the knife. She was never alone, Lily said, pausing just long enough for effect. Even in her last moments, she had people around her. People who stayed. The room nodded with solemn approval. I didn't. I was 6,000 miles away, treating a soldier with third-degree burns when Mom passed. I didn't get to hold her hand. I didn't even get the damn phone call. But sure, let's all clap for Lily, patron saint of proximity. When the service ended, people swarmed her. Condolences, hugs, and a few compliments on her speech. She lapped it up like it was champagne. I waited near the coffee urn, half hoping someone would recognize me and say they were glad I came. Instead, I got 2 sideways glances and one. "Are you at the caterer's?" Lily finally spotted me. I thought she'd crack a smile or hug me, something vaguely human. But no. She walked straight over, arms folded. "Didn't expect to see you here," she said. "I buried our mother," I replied. "Figured I should be here for that." She blinked once. "You know, she stopped asking when you'd visit. I never stopped asking when she'd forgive me." "That's convenient." There it was. The sharp, polished tone. Lily didn't yell. She never had to. She wielded guilt like a scalpel, silent, precise, effective. "I was deployed," I said. "I don't get to pick when someone dies." She smiled. "It wasn't kind. You always pick the army first." I didn't say anything. I knew she wanted me to fight back, not because she was right, and I wasn't giving her that satisfaction. She leaned in a little and lowered her voice. "You're not listed on the program. That wasn't a mistake." "Figured. And I told the photographer not to include you. No offense, but it's not like you've been around." "None taken," I said. "I've just been busy not getting blown up." She pulled back, eyebrows raised. There it is, the martyr act. A man in a tan blazer approached, handed her a folder. She flipped through it like a CEO reviewing contracts at a funeral, which wasn't far from the truth. "What's that?" I asked. "Paperwork for the estate," she said. "Nothing you need to worry about." My blood stayed calm, but my stomach knotted. "There's a will?" "Of course there's a will. I'm the executor." "Was I mentioned?" She smiled again, small, tight, satisfied. "Number." For a split second, I forgot we were surrounded by people in black polyester drinking bad coffee. I forgot the memorial board. I forgot my exhaustion from flying 18 hours in economy with 2 layovers. All I saw was her face, full of confidence that I didn't matter. "You're not getting anything, Monica," she said. She left it all to me. The house, the land, the investments, everything. "You know why? Because I was here." "You were present," I said. "Not involved." That's what happens when you disappear. Choices have consequences. I stepped back, mostly so I didn't say something I couldn't unsay. But I looked at her and said, "You've changed." She shrugged. Or maybe I finally stopped pretending. I turned and walked out of the reception hall. Not because I was hurt, because if I stood there one more second, I would have reminded her how many times Mom called me crying about her. How many prescriptions did I have to refill from across the world? How many messages did I leave that never got answered? But I didn't say it, I just kept walking. Because some things don't deserve a reply, some people don't deserve a second chance. And some sisters stop being sisters long before anyone's dead. I didn't go far. Just outside, to the edge of the parking lot, where the pavement cracked into weeds and gravel. I stood there for a minute, watching how people left the reception arm in arm, smiling behind tears, like they'd just finished a bittersweet family movie. It was touching if you weren't the person being cropped out of the final scene. I wasn't angry yet, just detached. Like I was watching my own life happen to someone else. A woman I vaguely remembered from church gave me a nod as she walked past. "No, nice to see you. No, sorry for your loss." Just a nod, like I was someone she recognized from the background of a childhood memory. A kid maybe 10 years old ran up to me, holding a styrofoam plate with cookies. "Are you security?" he asked. I shook my head. "Not today." He ran off without waiting for a follow-up. I took the long route back inside through the back hallway, past the kitchen. I wasn't trying to sneak around. I just didn't feel like being visible. Not after that exchange with Lily and being told, point blank, that I didn't exist in our family's final paperwork. I heard laughter before I reached the reception area. Not loud, just the soft, social kind. Comfortable people comforting each other. My boots echoed on the tile, and it was like flipping a switch the moment I walked in. The sound died. A few people turned. Then, just as quickly, they looked away. I went to the refreshment table and poured a half cup of coffee from the lukewarm urn. It tasted like cardboard and regret. I think a man near the dessert tray, Uncle Pete, leaned toward another relative and whispered something. I saw the end. She's the one Lily said wouldn't get anything. Nice. I moved toward an empty chair, but a woman got there first and put her purse down without glancing at me. So I stood by the wall and pretended to check my phone. Somewhere across the room, I heard Lily laughing. Genuine laughter. She was talking to a man in a gray suit, her firm's managing partner, probably. Her arm was tucked into his, and they looked like they were closing a business deal at our mother's memorial. And to be fair, I guess they were. Near the exit, standing apart from the crowd, I saw her son, Jake. He looked young and lost in a suit that seemed a size too big, his eyes fixed on the floor as if trying to disappear. I wandered into the side hallway, trying to find a bathroom, and ended up near the small coat room they'd converted into a makeshift photo memorial. The same damn collage board I saw earlier stood on a wooden easel. This time, I took a closer look. There were 23 photos. I counted. Mom with Lily at the beach. Mom with Lily at her wedding. Mom and Dad are together at the state fair. Lily at her graduation, baby shower, and new law office opening. None of me. Not even one blurry group shot from 1999. I spotted the original version of the photo I'd seen earlier, the picnic one. Except now I could see the edges more clearly. You could tell where the picture had been edited, where I had been. A smudge of grass under an arm that wasn't there anymore. A ghost elbow. Someone had gone to the effort of digitally erasing me. That wasn't a simple crop, that was intentional. I stared at it until the hallway lights flickered. Creepy, huh? Said a voice beside me. I turned. It was a woman in her 50s, wearing a heavy scarf, holding a wine glass with exactly 2 sips left. You're Monica, right? She asked. I nodded. I'm Gloria, she said. I was your mom's neighbor for a while. Back when she still lived on the west side. Nice to meet you. She looked at the board and exhaled. Lily told me you weren't coming. Did she? Yeah, Gloria said, swirling her wine like it might say something. She said you'd probably find a way to make it about yourself. I laughed. Not bitter, just tired. Of course she did. She looked at me, then back at the board. You know, your mom talked about you more than you think. That landed harder than I expected. Really? Yeah, especially when Lily wasn't around. I didn't say anything. I didn't know how to. She was proud, Gloria added. She didn't always know how to show it, but she was. I nodded once. It was all I could manage. Before she walked away, she said one more thing, quiet like a secret. If it were up to her, things wouldn't be the way they are now. I stood there long after she left, staring at the photos, trying to imagine what the original versions looked like. Not just the ones with me in them, but with us in them. A family, before edits. The hallway lights buzzed overhead, and outside, I heard someone say my name for the first time all day. Not loud, but clear enough to know I wasn't imagining it. I followed the sound out of instinct, not curiosity, not hope. Some quiet part of me still thought I belonged somewhere in this family. The voice came from the reception room, near the main exit. I slowed when I saw them, Lily standing in a tight circle with 2 of our cousins, her hand on her hip, laughing like she just nailed a punchline. When I stepped into view, her expression froze mid-smile. Oh, look who decided to rejoin the living, she said. Had to breathe, I replied. Didn't know that was a crime. One of the cousins looked between us, uncomfortable. The other suddenly remembered her phone. I walked over. I heard there's a reading of the will? Lily blinked, slowly and deliberately. You heard wrong. Really? Because I'm pretty sure I'm still her daughter. You were her daughter, Lily said. You stopped being a part of this family when you stopped showing up. I raised an eyebrow. You mean when I was deployed, or when I was getting shot at in Kandahar while you were doing yoga on the porch? She ignored that. You left. You didn't call, you didn't write, You don't just get to waltz back in and expect a seat at the table. Maybe not, but I'm still showing up now. Which is more than you did when Dad had his third stroke. That hit. Her mouth tightened, and for a second, I thought she might admit something. But Lily didn't apologize, she did redirection. I'm the executor, she said, tilting her chin. Which means I handle everything. The house, the land, the investments, all of it. And Mom picked you for that? She picked the one who was here, Lily snapped. The one who sat with her. Took her to appointments, dealt with the lawyers. You think Mom wanted some war-hardened stranger making decisions? Stranger. That one stuck. You don't get it, she continued. Being gone isn't neutral. It's a choice. One that has consequences. So you rewrote the ending while I was away. No, she said. I followed the law. I stepped closer, not threatening, just done playing nice. If you're that confident, then you won't mind me being at the will reading. She laughed, short and cold. You can sit there all you want, but I wouldn't get your hopes up. I don't have hopes, I said. I have questions. She folded her arms. Then maybe I can save you the trouble. The will was signed in 2012. Everything goes to me. Period. It's airtight. Everything? The land, the house, the trust account, the investment portfolio, Dad's military collectibles, even the patents from that irrigation system he built. All of it. Over $34 million. She smiled. You did do some homework. And not a single dollar for me? You don't get rewarded for showing up late. I stared at her for a second. You sound proud of this. I sound like someone who handled reality while you were out playing hero. Enderplo. I wanted to hit something. Not her. Just something. A wall. A truth. Anything solid enough to break. But instead, I smiled. That's fine, I said. Thanks for the clarity. You're not going to cause a scene? Oh, I might, I said. But not the one you're expecting. Lily's jaw tightened, but she stayed still. I walked away and found the nearest chair. I sat down, arms folded, watching her from across the room. She kept talking to people like nothing happened, like she hadn't just erased me from my own mother's legacy with a casual shrug. But here's the thing about being underestimated. People stop paying attention to what you might still know. And I knew more than she thought. I stepped outside again, this time with no plan to come back in. The Oklahoma summer hit me like it always did, dry, wide, and full of things no one talks about. I sat on the edge of a parking bumper, elbows on my knees, and let my thoughts stretch further than the land around me. The funny thing about war is that you get used to pain. You learn to triage your own emotions like bullet wounds. But betrayal from family? That one doesn't cauterize. It festers. I pulled a photo from my wallet. It was folded and creased and taken in Helmand Province in 2009. I was in full gear, standing next to a young Marine with half his face bandaged. He didn't survive another month. But I remember what he said before they medevaced him. You think they'll remember I was here? He wasn't talking about the war. He meant home. I'd asked myself that question more times than I could count. Not just in combat zones, but in hotel rooms, airports, and now, funerals. My mom used to send me handwritten letters. Not emails. Actual pen on paper notes. Sometimes, with lipstick smudges where she sealed them. She'd include little updates, what Lily was up to, which neighbors were fighting again, how the tomatoes were growing. It was the closest I ever got to being there. But then they stopped coming. I blamed the mail system. Then I blamed deployment chaos. Then, eventually, I blamed myself. Maybe I didn't write back enough. Maybe I didn't call on the right days. Maybe I had disappeared. I thought about Dad. He died 6 years ago, during my rotation in Syria. I'd gotten a call, but he was already on the ground when I reached Germany to catch the flight. Lily sent a single text. He's gone. You missed it. L. That was it. When I called, she let it ring 5 times, then voicemail. I couldn't tell if it was punishment or indifference. At this point, I didn't know which was worse. The last time I was home was for a surprise 3-day leave. I didn't tell anyone. I just showed up. I remember knocking on the front door, duffel over my shoulder, still in uniform. Lily opened it and looked like she'd seen a debt collector. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "I wanted to see Mom and Dad. They're resting. It's 5 p.m. They're not up for visitors. Call next time." "Lily, I came 30 hours through 4 countries to be here." She glanced behind her. "They're napping. Try again tomorrow." She didn't let me in. I stayed in a motel that night. Ordered bad pizza. Watched television on mute and stared at the ceiling. By the next morning, I had to leave. So, yeah, I had missed things. Big things. But not by choice. People always think military life is about gunfire and gear and flags. They never mention the slow erosion, the birthdays missed, the funerals rushed, the dinners skipped. It's not the danger that breaks you. It's the absence. And now, sitting here with a funeral program that didn't list my name and a sister who talked like I was a tenant applying for a refund, I realized something stupid and obvious. You can fight for your country your whole life and still lose the right to be part of your own family. The wind kicked up, dry and hot, and for a second, it carried a scent: lavender and burnt coffee. Mom's scent. She used to wear this cheap spray from the pharmacy. She called it her garden perfume. 1. I closed my eyes and let myself feel it. Not the loss, just the scent. Footsteps crunched behind me. "You okay?" It was the identical cousin from earlier, the one who'd looked uncomfortable around Lily. "I'm sitting on concrete behind a funeral home," I said. "Define okay." He smiled. "Fair." He hesitated before sitting beside me, leaving a few inches of respectful distance. "I didn't know," he said. "About everything. About her cutting you out. Doesn't matter now." "It kinda does." Their section. I looked at him. "She made it sound like you didn't care, that you just left." "I left because I was called to serve." He nodded. "I get that now." Silence hung between us. Not heavy, just long enough. "You know," he added, "your dad used to talk about you all the time. Said you were the brave one." I swallowed hard. He never told me that. Guess he didn't need to. He told everyone else. And just like that, a wound I didn't know was open started to sting again. Not because it hurt, but because, for once, it sounded like the truth. I didn't go back inside the funeral home. I stood near the flagpole out front, arms crossed, letting the silence fill whatever space was left in me. Then I saw him, an older man stepping out of a dark blue Chevy Malibu, carrying a slim black folder under one arm. Tailored suit, cowboy boots, salt and pepper beard. He looked like someone who still trusted his handshake. He caught my eye and made a direct line toward me. "Monica Ellsworth?" I straightened. "That's me." He nodded and extended a hand. "David Clymer. I was your parents' estate attorney." I shook his hand. "I remember the name. I figured you might." He looked me over, calm but observant. "You came a long way. Long enough to be told I'm not in the will." He gave a quiet, knowing breath. "That's partially true." That pulled my eyebrows up. "I've been meaning to speak with you, privately," he added. He tilted my head. "And now's your moment?" It's the first one I've gotten that didn't have Lily in the room. He reached into his folder and pulled out a sealed envelope with my name handwritten across the front. Thick ivory paper. My mother's handwriting. I knew it instantly. "She left this for you," he said. "Told me to deliver it personally, and only after the memorial service." Her exact words were, "Don't let Lily see it first." That alone told me more than anything else could have done her. I took the envelope and held it like it might bite me. For a second, I thought about not opening it. About leaving it sealed and tucked away, one more ghost I didn't need to confront. Then I opened it. Inside was a short letter, 5 lines in my mom's handwriting, and a folded document with a thumbprint seal on the corner. The letter read, "Monica, if you're reading this, then Lily is doing what I feared she would. I knew you'd come home. I trust you with the truth. Ask David to show you the second file. You'll know what to do. Love, Mom." I looked up at David. "The second file?" He nodded. "There are 2 wills." "Of course, there are." He continued. The first one, signed in 2012, names Lily as the sole beneficiary and executor. That's the one she has, the one she's been waving around like a golden ticket. And the second one? Was signed 6 months ago, he said. With full biometric authentication. Thumbprint, voice print, and recorded video. Your mother had it done privately with 2 independent witnesses. Does Lily know it exists? She doesn't, he said flatly. Your mom kept it off the main record for that exact reason. She wanted to protect you and herself. I let that sink in. What changed between them? I'm not her therapist, he said. But I'd guess years of manipulation and one-sided caregiving took a toll. I unfolded the document and skimmed the top. It was real. Notarized, official. And my name was there. It wasn't everything. Lily still had some accounts, but the will transferred majority control of the land, the family trust, and most shockingly Dad's military memorabilia and historical investments. That alone was worth a small fortune. I looked up. So why didn't Mom just tell me? She didn't trust Lily not to interfere. She wanted it airtight before you ever saw it. I folded the paper slowly. And you're telling me this now because... Because it's time, David said. The official reading is scheduled for tomorrow morning. I'll present both wills then, as required by law. But your mother wanted you to see it first. She wanted you to walk in there knowing where you stand. I swallowed. It was hard. Like I'd been holding my breath for years and didn't know how to exhale. She said something else, he added. Asked me to remind you that being gone didn't mean being forgotten. That cracked something open in me. I tucked the letter back into the envelope and nodded. I'll be there tomorrow, I said. I'll make sure it's on the record. He gave a small smile. Welcome home, Monica. And for the first time since I landed, I believed it. The next morning, I arrived at the lawyer's office 15 minutes early. The building sat across from a church and next to a dry cleaner's, like Justice and Staines belonged on the same block. The waiting room was beige, the couch was too soft, and the coffee was lukewarm. Everything about it screamed, we settle things here with uncomfortable silence and paperwork. Lily was already inside when I walked in. Of course, she was. She wore a navy blazer and a smug little smirk, which she probably practiced in court when she was about to destroy someone with a contract clause. Monica, she said, as if greeting a parking ticket. Lillian, I replied, because I knew she hated being called that. She rolled her eyes and leaned back in her chair. There were 2 of our cousins, their 2 witnesses, maybe, or just morbidly curious. One had the expression of a guy who came for the drama and stayed for the inheritance. David Clymer entered the room with a calmness I couldn't fake. He carried a thick folder and wore a tight tie that looked like it had survived litigation. He nodded to everyone, sat down, and opened the folder. This meeting is to formally read the last will and testament of Joanna Ellsworth. He began. The version dated April 2012, which was submitted and notarized at that time. Lily crossed her legs, the confident executor. She glanced over at me like she was already drafting the thank you speech in her head. David began reading. It was clinical. Legalese dressed in civility. The kind of language that sounds neutral but lands like a slap. To my daughter, Lily Ellsworth, Roan, I leave full executive control and sole ownership of all primary estate holdings. It kept going. The house. The land. The cash accounts. The life insurance. Even the antique rifle my dad kept locked in a glass case, something I knew meant the world to him, was listed as part of Lily's inheritance. There was no mention of me. Not even a line that said I was considered and intentionally excluded. Just nothing. A blank space where my name should have lived. Lily's smile widened with every paragraph. She sat there, basking in it like it was sunlight. When David reached the end, she dared to lean forward and clasp her hands together. Well, she said, I think that concludes things. David held up one finger. Actually, he interrupted, there's more. Lily froze mid-celebration. He pulled another document from the folder with a blue ribbon clipped to the top and a series of seals running down the margin. Then he looked right at me. Miss Ellsworth, he said, "Your mother also executed an amended and superseding version of her will, dated 6 months prior to her passing. This version was filed privately, held in trust, and includes biometric and audiovisual verification." I didn't smile. I didn't even flinch. But Lily's face cracked like a frozen windshield. "What?" she said, her voice climbing. David continued, unfazed. "This document has been verified by 2 separate witnesses and carries equal, if not greater, legal authority. As required by statute, both versions must be read aloud." Lily blinked like someone had unplugged her brain. No, this isn't possible." "She never said." "She didn't want you to know," I said, calm as a funeral. David glanced at me, then opened the second will. This wasn't some photocopy, it was real. Fresh signatures, clean lines, weight in every word. He began to read. "To my daughter Monica Ellsworth, I leave the full rights, ownership, and responsibilities of Ellsworth Ranch, all properties held in the family trust, and primary investment portfolios. I also bequeath my husband's military collection and related estate artifacts to her, as she best understands their significance." Lily stood up. "This is insane. This can't be real." She was sick. She wasn't thinking clearly. "Oh, one. There is video," David replied, not looking up. "And her voice print matches prior legal documents. Her cognitive faculties were confirmed by 2 physicians." "I'm her daughter," Lily snapped. "I was there." "I know," I said. "That's exactly why she did this." Her eyes locked on mine, and for once, they didn't look powerful, they looked scared. Confused. Like the ground under her arguments had suddenly turned into mud. David finished the reading without a pause. The room stayed painfully quiet. Nobody said congratulations. Nobody patted my shoulder. But maybe someone behind me, one of the cousins, blew a soft whistle. "Damn," I heard him whisper. Lily didn't sit back down. She just stared at me like I'd stolen something. Like I was the thief in a heist she spent years planning. But I didn't steal it. I earned it. And Mom knew that better than anyone. Lily didn't move. For once, she was frozen, speechless, anchored to the spot by a reality she hadn't prepared for. The lawyer's office felt like it lost all air. Nobody whispered. Nobody breathed. And yet, somehow, I could hear her pulse thudding under her skin like a ticking clock. David flipped a page. "In addition," he continued, "the amended will transfers oversight of the Ellsworth Foundation previously dormant to Monica Ellsworth. The foundation shall be revived for the purpose of supporting military service members and veterans, as outlined in the handwritten memo attached." I hadn't seen that memo. But the fact that it existed told me everything I needed to know about what my mother intended. This wasn't about money, it was about restoration. Lily finally spoke. No, this is forged." David didn't react. "The document includes biometric signatures, verified by an independent estate agency. Your mother recorded a verification video at the time of signing. It is time-stamped, witnessed, and filed." Lily raised her voice. "Then I want to see the video." He nodded, calm as ever. "As executor of the amended will, Monica has the right to request a playback. Would you like me to retrieve it?" I didn't flinch. "Play it." He tapped a button on his laptop, and a large monitor mounted on the wall came to life. There she was, my mom sitting in a pale green blouse I remembered from years ago, her hands folded gently on her lap. Her voice, when she spoke, was unmistakable. "My name is Joanna May Ellsworth. This is my updated will. I am fully aware and competent. I am making this decision after thoughtful consideration and without coercion." She looked straight at the camera. "I love both my daughters, but only one of them understands sacrifice. Only one has carried this family name across battlefields. Only one has stood in places that broke her and still came back. And that daughter is Monica." Lily made a sound, half gasp, half laugh. "This is manipulated." But the voice on screen kept going. "Lily has been close, yes. But not present. Not really. She's been here in body but elsewhere in heart. I regret how far apart we've drifted. But I won't let guilt dictate justice. She picked up a small cassette tape and held it to the camera. And this is for Monica only. The screen went black. No one spoke. David leaned forward slightly. The tape was delivered to my office under separate seal, with instructions to give it to Monica following the reading. Lily turned on me, her face red, lips trembling. This is insane. You can't just sweep in here, after decades away, and take everything. I met her eyes. I didn't sweep in, I was invited. You just didn't know. You abandoned them? I served. I missed birthdays and anniversaries and funerals because I was in combat zones stitching up bodies while you were busy throwing wine tastings. That doesn't make you the hero. No, I said. But it sure as hell explains why Mom didn't trust you with the legacy. She stepped toward me. I didn't move. You're not better than me, she whispered. I tilted my head. Then why do you look so terrified that I might be? The room stayed heavy. A cousin coughed. Another stood awkwardly and mumbled something about having to get to work. The show was over for them, but not for us. Lily turned to David. I want to contest this. On grounds of mental incompetence or undue influence. Whatever works. He folded his hands. You're welcome to try. But the burden of proof is high. Your mother took extraordinary precautions to prevent exactly that. There. Lily looked back at me, eyes blazing. This isn't over. I nodded. You're right, it's not. Because now I get to decide what happens to everything you thought was yours. I took the envelope with the cassette, folded the amended will into my bag, and walked to the door. No fanfare, no applause. Just the sound of my boots on the polished floor. The same boots Lily once said made me look like I was cosplaying as a soldier. As I opened the door, I heard David behind me. Monica, one more thing. I paused. He handed me a smaller envelope. This was tucked inside the trust documents. Your father left it, dated before his stroke. My throat caught. I nodded once and slipped it into my coat pocket without opening it. Outside, the sun hit my face like a slap and a blessing. I stood on the sidewalk, envelope in one hand, cassette in the other, wondering which would be heavier once I listened. Lily didn't follow. She stayed behind, where the control used to be. Back at the motel, I sat cross-legged on the carpet, boots off, lamp on low. The cassette lay before me like some ancient artifact, still sealed in its plastic case. I hadn't touched one of these in years, but muscle memory kicked in the second I picked it up. Play. Rewind. Flip. It was like riding a bike made of grief. The motel had a cheap combo radio cassette player bolted to the desk, the kind you'd expect to find in a church basement or your grandma's attic. I slid the tape in and pressed play. A click. A hum. Then, silence. Not digital silence. Absolute breathing silence. Then came my dad's voice. Not from a phone call. Not in some old home video. But clear, slow, and direct. Hey, Monty. He began, using the name only he ever called me. If you're hearing this, I guess the old man finally clocked out. Can't say I didn't see it coming. I've had one foot out the door since that second stroke. But your mom, she's tougher than me. She asked me to record this. Said you deserve to hear the truth from at least one of us. My heart clenched. I know things between you and Lily have never been easy. Hell, if I had a nickel for every time you two fought growing up, I'd have retired 5 years earlier. But this isn't about blame. It's about legacy. He coughed once, that dry old man cough I remembered from the garage, when he'd tinker with the lawnmower for hours. Monica, I watched you grow up strong. Not loud, not flashy, just steady. You carried things, even when nobody asked you to. And when you told me you were enlisting, I thought I'd lose my mind. But then I saw the look in your eyes. Like you finally had something worth standing for. I wiped at my face before I realized I was crying. Your mother was proud of you every day, even when she didn't know how to say it. And me? I bragged about you to everyone. Lily was always nearby. She did what she thought was right. But you were the one who stood up when it counted. A pause. I asked your mom to make sure my medals went to you. You'll find the box in the ranch office, bottom drawer. Keep it. Or give it to someone who'll wear the uniform with the same damn integrity you did. My chest tightened. The ranch. The one Lily swore would never be mine. The one I used to chase fireflies around before deployments turned me into someone who hated the sound of fireworks. I told your mom, when the time comes, to leave the land to you. You're not just a soldier, Monica, you're a builder. You see what things could be. That ranch isn't just dirt, it's roots. I know you'll take care of it. Hell, you've taken care of all of us whether we deserved it or not. A long sigh from the tape. I imagined him sitting in that old recliner, oxygen tank to one side, always too stubborn to use it until his lips turned blue. Don't waste time hating Lily. Just because someone's wrong doesn't mean they're evil. She was scared. Scared I loved you more. I didn't. I understood you more. I paused the tape there. Because that line hit harder than any bullet. I didn't love you more, I understood you more. For a man who barely spoke unless it was to fix something or curse at the news, he'd finally said the one thing I'd been waiting years to hear. Not validation. Not an apology. Just understanding. When I pressed play again, his voice was softer. If this world were fair, you'd have had more time with us. But it ain't. So take what's left and do something good with it. Something that matters. Something that lasts. And if you can, forgive us. We were never as brave as you. The tape clicked off. And that was it. I sat there for a long time. Not crying. Just still. Like the tape had turned me into a time capsule of every moment I'd missed and every word I thought I'd never hear. I pulled the envelope David gave me from my jacket. Dad's handwriting again. This time in shaky cursive on the outside. For Monty. Inside was a single Polaroid of us, me in uniform, him in flannel, and both grinning like idiots next to the barn. Scribbled on the back were the words. This is what proud looks like. I pressed the photo to my chest and closed my eyes. Not for comfort, not for memory. For peace. Because after all this time, I finally felt it. The next time I saw Lily was at the county clerk's office 2 days later. She wasn't there for a meeting. She was there for damage control. She stood outside her car, talking fast into her phone, pacing in heels that didn't quite work on gravel. Her voice was sharp, shrill, bouncing off metal and glass. She had no right, I heard her say. The new will's a joke. There's gotta be something we can file fraud, coercion, undue influence, I don't care what angle you use. Just find it. She stopped pacing when she noticed me walking toward the building. Oh, speak of the devil, she muttered, pulling off her sunglasses. Morning, I said flatly. You're loving this, aren't you? Not particularly. You look smug. No, I look tired. Because it's exhausting watching you dig your own grave with expensive lawyers. She stepped in front of me. You think this is done? I think you lost. I think Mom made sure of that. Her mouth opened, then shut again. She looked around, checking to see if anyone was watching. 2 guys in pickup trucks and a bored-looking clerk were behind the window, but no one was paying her the attention she thought she deserved. You know what burns me the most? She finally said. You get to play the war hero, the returning prodigal daughter, while I'm the villain. Even though I was the one who stayed, I was the one who fed them, bathed them, took them to the hospital while you were off getting medals and applause. I didn't flinch. Then why weren't you at Dad's side when he died? Her face fell. For the first time, I saw something besides entitlement in her eyes. I saw regret. I was there, she said softly. No, you weren't. You were in Tulsa at a conference, Mom told me later. You left because you said, and I quote, he's already halfway gone anyway. Her lip trembled. You think it was easy for me? Watching them fade, you think I didn't carry my own kind of war. I think you carried it with a calculator in your hand. She blinked like that cut deeper than I intended. I stepped aside and walked past her toward the building. Behind me, she asked, do you think they loved you more? I turned, slowly. I think they trusted me more. Big difference. She looked like she wanted to scream. But instead, she smoothed her blouse and said, You're not going to keep it, you know. The ranch. The accounts. You're not the type, you'll run again. That made me laugh, quietly and bitterly. You don't know me, you never tried to. She crossed her arms, voice low and sharp. I gave up everything for this family. No, I said. You expected to be paid for being near them. That's not love, Lily, that's leverage. She opened her mouth again, but nothing came out. And then something happened I didn't expect. She stepped back. Just a small half step. But it was enough to show the cracks. The wobble behind the confidence. Her hands clenched, her shoulders curled inward. For a split second, she looked small. And then she said something I never thought I'd hear. They always talked about you like you were some kind of myth. He blinked. What? Every letter Mom got from you, every time they saw your name on television or read about your deployments, they acted like you were the second coming. I was in the room. I was cooking the meals, I was wiping their mouths. But the second they got your postcard, I disappeared. Her voice cracked at the edge. That's why I wanted it all. The house, the accounts, the damn guns. Because it was the only time anyone looked at me and saw something besides the one who didn't join the army. Oh. I stood there, suddenly unsure of what to say. She looked at me, eyes wide and glossy. But it wasn't enough, she whispered. It never was. Then, like a switch flipping, she straightened her jacket and walked toward her car. And just like that, she was gone. I didn't chase her. I didn't feel triumphant. There wasn't any gloating left in me. Just this quiet ache in the middle of my chest where resentment used to be. I'd wanted justice. Vindication. But sometimes, all revenge does is empty you. And sometimes, the people you beat don't know what they've lost. I wasn't expecting Jake to show up at the ranch. He parked his truck just past the fence line, boots hitting gravel like he'd walked this ground his whole life, which, to be fair, he had. But this time, he wasn't here for Lily. He was here for answers. He found me in the barn, where I'd started clearing out old tools and spider webs, letting sunlight break through slats that hadn't been seen in years. He stood in the doorway, hat in hand, eyes uncertain. You got a minute? I nodded. Always. He stepped inside and glanced around like the place held 1,000 ghosts. This was where Grandpa taught me to shoot, he said. You were overseas. I was 9. He let me hold that old .22 and told me not to tell my mom. I smiled. That tracks. He rubbed the back of his neck. So, look. I heard everything. The will, the fight, the tape. Mom's not doing great. Not surprising. He looked at me, guilt twisting his face. She's not evil, Monica. Just lost. She thought if she could hold it all together, money, land, name, then maybe she'd matter more. I leaned against the post. And what do you think? I think, he said slowly, she was wrong. And I let her stay wrong too long. I'm ill. That landed heavier than he probably meant it to. Jake had always been caught in the middle, Mom's golden boy, Grandpa's pride, but too quiet to challenge anything. And too decent to cheer it on. I should have asked questions, he continued. I should have noticed how scared she was of losing control. I figured if she was managing things, then it wasn't my place. I raised an eyebrow. Managing or rewriting? He didn't argue. I knew about the old will, he admitted. She told me she had everything squared away. Said I didn't need to worry about you, that you'd moved on with your life. That's a sanitized way to erase someone. He nodded. Yeah. And I let it sit because it was easier than confronting her. That honesty stung, but not cruelly, like truth, always does when it's finally aired out. He pulled something from his back pocket, a small, folded photo. It was me and I, years ago, sitting on the tailgate after I came home from my second deployment. I looked exhausted. He looked like a kid trying to understand the weight behind my eyes. I kept this in my glove box, he said. Never really knew why. I took the photo and stared at it. Because sometimes we remember people better than we treat them. He looked down. You're not gonna kick me off the land, are you? I blinked. What? I mean, Mom's cut out. The place is yours now. You could clean house. Jake, I said, stepping closer. You're not your mother. He looked up, surprised. You stayed out of the fight, yeah, but you're here now. That counts for something. He looked relieved but hesitant. What are you going to do with the ranch? I looked around the barn. The dust, the age, the potential. I want to turn it into a recovery center, I said. For vets, for folks who've served and don't know where to put all the broken pieces. His eyes widened. You're serious? Dead serious. That's incredible. I shrugged. It's either that or sell it to a real estate developer who'll turn it into overpriced wedding barns, and I figured Dad would have wanted this. Jake nodded, a quiet smile breaking through. He would have loved that. Then he paused and looked me straight in the eyes. If you let me, I want to help. I didn't need to think. I just extended my hand. Then you're in. He took it and shook it once, firm and confident. And in that handshake, we weren't aunt and nephew, we were Ellsworths. Not by blood, not by will, but by choice. And that's what mattered most. Later that week, Lily showed up at the ranch. No warning. No call. Just her car kicking up a trail of dust down the long driveway. She parked like she still owned the place and stepped out wearing all black like grief, pride, and bitterness had formed a uniform she couldn't take off. I met her near the porch. I didn't invite her inside. She stood a few feet from me, arms crossed, chin lifted like she needed to be taller than me, even now. Is this your idea of winning? She asked. No, I said. This is my idea of finishing what Mom and Dad started. She looked around, scanning the property like it had betrayed her. I should have been the one to inherit this, she muttered. Why? I asked. Because you stayed? Because you put up with them? Because I was here, she said, eyes sharp. When they cried. When they couldn't feed themselves. When they forgot who I was. I nodded slowly. And I'm not dismissing that. But you were here with expectations. I was gone with duty. Her jaw twitched. You think service in the military makes you better than me? Number. But it taught me to serve something bigger than myself. You can't say the same. She flinched, but didn't back down. I'm not here to beg, she said. I know you could take everything. Drag me into court, humiliate me. I stayed silent. But I also know you're not like me, she added, almost like it hurt. I raised an eyebrow. You came all the way out here just to admit that? She exhaled hard, lips tightening. Number, I came to ask you something. I waited. She looked down at her hands, polished, still shaking. Will you sue me? I let the question hang in the air. Long enough for it to sting. Then I said, Number. Her head snapped up. What? I'm not suing you. Why not? Because I don't need to, I said. The will's already mine. The truth's already out. There's nothing to prove anymore. She swallowed, unsure if it was relief or humiliation flooding her system. But that doesn't mean I forgive you, I added. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Her eyes dropped. That's fair. I stepped down from the porch, closing the distance just a little. I'm not building this place to erase you, I said. I'm building it so someone else out there, someone trying to survive the aftermath of their own battlefield, doesn't lose everything the way we almost did. She blinked at me. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to understand, this ranch isn't revenge, it's recovery. She said nothing. I turned to walk back up the steps, but then I heard her voice behind me, softer, unsure. Did they ever say they loved me, in the end? I paused. It would have been easy to lie. To offer her comfort she didn't earn. But I told the truth. Dad said he understood me more. Not that he loved me more. She nodded once, eyes glassy. And Mom? She said she wished things had been different, that she'd had the courage to say no to you sooner. That one hit deep. I saw it ripple through her, like a wave breaking something fragile. Lily didn't speak again. She turned back to her car, moving slower this time, less like a woman storming out, more like one walking away from something she could never rebuild. Before she opened the door, she stopped. You're going to do good things here, she said without looking at me. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. She got in the car. drove off without slamming the door. And for the first time since I returned, I felt like she'd left behind more than dust. She'd left behind the part of her fighting for a version of love that was never real. The wind cut across the back pasture as we hung the new Ellsworth Veterans Recovery Center sign. Jake hammered the last nail in place, then stepped back, squinting in the morning sun. "That's a hell of a name," he said. "It's not a brand," I replied. "It's a promise." The barn had been converted. The old hayloft was now a group therapy room. The horse stalls had been turned into sleeping quarters, modest, clean, and safe. Every beam still held the scent of sweat, wood, and memory, but now it carried something else. Purpose. The first veteran arrived just after sunrise. His name was Alex, and he'd done 3 tours in Iraq before ending up on a park bench in Tulsa. He walked like he expected someone to hit him for existing. I met him at the gate. No clipboard. No intake form, just a handshake and a, "You're home now." More followed. Marines, Army, Navy, and even a Coast Guard sniper who talked more to the cows than to people for the first week. They brought trauma, silence, nightmares, but also stories. Dark humor. Brotherhood. The ranch absorbed it all. Jake took to the place like it was in his blood. He ran logistics and repairs and helped the younger guys rebuild the irrigation pump. He even taught a few of them how to weld. Even the cousin who had approached me so awkwardly at the funeral was now laying brick for a meditation patio. One night, I stood near the barn, looking at the moon hanging over the fields. I held the Polaroid that Dad gave me, now framed inside the main hallway. And I remembered something else he once said, long before the strokes, when he caught me fixing the busted gate with a screwdriver and pure rage. "You're not afraid of hard work," he told me. "You're afraid it won't matter." Now I knew it did. That weekend, we held a small gathering for the local community. No big speeches, no ribbon-cutting circus. Just coffee, folding chairs, and old neighbors who wanted to see what we were doing with the place. I stood up to say a few words. I didn't write a speech, I just told the truth. My dad used to say legacy isn't what you leave behind. It's what you fix before you go. That's what we're doing here. Fixing. Not erasing, not forgetting. Just rebuilding. I looked at Jake, who nodded once. I held up a journal my father's. Before he died, he wrote one last line. "My daughter's home now, and she's saving what I couldn't." Some people cried. Some just clapped. But every single one of them stayed until the end. And when the sun dropped behind the ridge, and the last truck rolled out, I walked into the barn, looked at the bunks, the lights, the quiet breathing of men trying to heal. And I realized this wasn't mine anymore. It was ours, and it was precisely what it needed to be. The next morning, I opened the drawer in Dad's old desk and pulled out the last blank page of his journal. The pages before it were filled with oil stains, half-finished thoughts, war stories, receipts, and short lines about weather and fences and get the damn well pump checked. But this one was clean. I sat down with a pen, one of his, and began to write. "Dear Dad, you said legacy is what we fix before we go. Well, I'm trying. You also said I was built for this place. That I could hold it when no one else could. I used to think you meant the land. Now I know you meant the people. The ranch is alive again. It breathes. It carries weight, and it gives it back in something lighter. Men and women walk around here with wounds they don't always discuss, but they're here. That's the first step. And it matters. Jake has become a partner in every sense. He's grown into himself. And I see so much of you in him, even if his welding's better. Lily hasn't been back. She sent a letter, though, no threats, no bitterness. Just 6 words. Thank you for not destroying me. I haven't answered yet. I don't know if I will. But maybe that's not what she needs. Maybe it was just her way of laying down her arms. I found the box with your medals. I haven't touched them. Not yet. I'm not ready to display them. Not until I've earned what they represent. I've kept your Polaroid on the wall. One of us is on the tailgate. You said that's what pride looks like. Well, I'm trying to live up to that. Not for the picture. For the weight behind it. Love always, Mani. I folded the page and slid it into the steel box under the floorboard of the office, the one Dad used to call his vault of truth. Inside was the cassette, the envelope, and now, my letter. I closed the lid, locked it, and left it there. Not as a secret. As a foundation. That afternoon, a boy showed up with his mother. He couldn't have been older than 20. Thin, pale. Eyes darting like he expected to be punished for breathing too loudly. His mom clutched her purse like it was the only solid thing left in her life. "We were told this place helps," she said. I looked at the boy. I recognized the look in his eyes. I'd seen it in the mirror once, in a tent in Kandahar, when the world felt too big and broken. I opened the door. "It does." He stepped inside. She followed, hesitant but hopeful. As they disappeared into the hall, I stood on the porch, boots planted in dirt my father once tilled, on land my mother protected with decisions that broke her heart. And I realized I wasn't carrying their burden anymore. I was building on it. Not for revenge. Not for validation. But for the next soldier who walked through that door needing something more than survival. The flag Dad raised 20 years ago caught the wind in the pasture. And I finally understood what it meant to come home. Some stories of revenge don't end with slammed doors or court battles. Sometimes, the deepest revenge is healing what was broken, without asking permission. Monica didn't destroy Lily. She didn't chase power. She reclaimed what was stolen through silence and turned it into something no amount of money could buy: peace, purpose, and legacy. In a world full of family drama and betrayal, hers became one of the rare family revenge stories where justice didn't roar, it stood still, steady, and unmistakably right. If stories like this hit home for you, real people, real wounds, and real redemption, make sure to subscribe for more powerful revenge stories and family dramas that cut deeper than fiction. And don't forget to drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts.